Hello, my name is Ahmed Ishmael, co-founder of House. On behalf of myself, Lamar Taylor, Abel Tesfaye, we would like to welcome everybody here today for this historic occasion. When we first started House, we knew that the system was broken and we didn't want to waste our time complaining about it. We wanted to envision solutions that would last and make sustainable, real impact. And today is one of those days that, as a young kid who grew up as a political science nerd, dreams about, because to have an active, responsive government that's being able to adapt to the issues at hand and not want to bandage this no more and believe that systemic racism and opportunities are not equal and take the uncomfortable step of doing something about it instead of pointing fingers. This is something that I've never really witnessed in all my life in every country that I've studied. So I'm really happy to celebrate what we do at House every day, but it's very rare that we get to celebrate today this announcement of supporting all that you're going to hear today. For those who don't know about House, it's an incubator and accelerator that's talent-driven to keep amazing talent in Canada. We started and established in 2018 to tell every Canadian that has a dream that there is no more dreams. That's the name of our scholarship. We believe it. It's our mantra, and we don't like to complain about fixing problems. So today, I'm happy to announce that Honorable Minister of Small Business, Mary Ng, to the podium to share the rest of this announcement. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. I want to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the peoples of the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Mississauga of the Credit First Nation. Today, indeed, is an exciting day. I'm honored to be here at House, a local think center that helps entrepreneurs turn their innovations into made-in-Canadian businesses and products. I am joined by our Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau. Also here with me is my friend and colleague, the Member of Parliament, Greg Fergus, a relentless champion of his community in Hull-Almer, but also the chair of the Canadian Caucus of Black Parliamentarians. Today's announcement is a testament to the dedicated advocacy of Black Caucus, as well as the incredible leadership, strength, and the hard work of Black-led business organizations from across the country. A sincere thank you to the Black Business Professional Association, the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce, Groupe 3737, Côte des Neiges Black Community Association, the Black Business Initiative in Nova Scotia, and many others. Today would truly not be possible without your expertise, and thank you for joining us. Right from the very beginning of this pandemic, we promised Canadians that we were going to listen to them and that we would create the supports that responded to what they needed. Black business owners have been clear. Unique barriers to their success existed long before COVID-19 and have worsened throughout this pandemic. They needed targeted support to help them grow and to thrive in the future. Over the past few months, our government, Black-led business organizations, and Canadian financial institutions have come together with one common goal: helping Black entrepreneurs and businesses succeed. Because we know that Black-owned businesses across Canada are led by talented, innovative, and resilient people. And they make our communities more vibrant, welcoming, and beautiful places where we all call home. Their success is essential to Canada's economy, both as we recover from the COVID-19 pandemic and into the future. This is why we must address the long-standing discrimination and prejudice towards Black business owners and entrepreneurs, which has resulted in a lack of trust with more mainstream business programs, including amid COVID-19, and key emergency supports such as the Canada Emergency Business Account Loan. In a recent cabinet retreat meeting back in July, one of the main topics that we discussed was how we can continue to fight systemic racism. We came out of that meeting with a commitment to create policies that will break down barriers for racialized Canadians, including Black Canadians. On my part, I've been focused on working to improve access to capital and to build capacity for entrepreneurs and small businesses, which is something that we have heard time and time again from Black-owned businesses that can be a key barrier to their success. Ensuring that all business owners and entrepreneurs can thrive is absolutely key to the success of our country. And as we work to recover from COVID-19 and in the years to come, we must continue to work hard to build an economy and a country that works for all Canadians. With that, I am very happy to introduce the Prime Minister of Canada, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau. Merci beaucoup.
Bonjour tout le monde. Hello everyone.
Hello everyone.
I am happy to be here at House in Toronto with Minister Ng, Greg Fergus, the Chair of the Parliamentary Black Caucus, Nadam Vaughan and Gary Anandasangari. I also want to thank one of the co-founders of House, Ahmed Ismail, for welcoming us today. I know that Abel Tesfaye, known as The Weekend, and Lamar Taylor are also co-founders of House and wanted to be here but just couldn't make it, so thanks to them as well. We're also joined by members of the local community and representatives from some of Canada's largest banks. Over the last 6 months, as our country faced the unprecedented challenge of COVID-19, we've seen that there exists still far too many gaps in our society. For Black entrepreneurs, this pandemic has highlighted the many inequalities they face. We need an economic recovery that's inclusive and equitable for all Canadians. Earlier today, I talked with some local Black entrepreneurs about what starting a business means to them and what the last few months have been like. They told me what it was like to build the company of their dreams and the importance of giving back to the community. The small businesses that Black entrepreneurs create are the backbone of our communities. Just take the story of Thornton and Lucy Blackburn, two prominent Black Canadian entrepreneurs from the early 1800s. After the Blackburns escaped from slavery, they became successful business owners, starting Toronto's very first taxi company. Here in Toronto, at the end of the Underground Railroad, the Blackburns brought a new dream to life, a dream of building economic freedom through hard work, perseverance, and hope, a dream that gave community in their city. They achieved that dream, all the while reaching back to help others move forward. Their legacy speaks to what Black business owners have always done and still do for their communities. From the Blackburns to Viola Desmond, Black business owners are at the very center of their communities. To Black entrepreneurs, we heard you when you said that investing in the right tools and support create good, sustainable jobs. You're absolutely right. An investment in Black excellence is an investment in economic empowerment, and economic empowerment is an essential part of justice. It's justice against a system that has locked out far too many Black entrepreneurs and denied them the same opportunities as other Canadians. So today, we're taking another step forward to reduce barriers and address that. This morning, I can announce that the Government of Canada, in partnership with Canadian banks, is investing nearly $221 million to launch Canada's first-ever Black Entrepreneurship Program. The Government of Canada's share will be nearly $93 million over 4 years as part of this program. The Black Entrepreneurship Program will help thousands of Black business owners through our economic recovery and into the months and years ahead. I'd like to take a moment to thank our partners for working with us to address an issue Black Canadians have faced for far too long. The Black Entrepreneurship Program will include funding to support 3 new initiatives: a national ecosystem fund, a Black Entrepreneurship loan fund, and a Black Entrepreneurship knowledge hub. Let me start with the National Ecosystem Fund. Black business owners and entrepreneurs often have a hard time getting the right tools and mentorship to succeed. With this new National Ecosystem Fund, Black entrepreneurs will have access to financial planning services and business training they need for the months and years to come. Black entrepreneurs also continue to face systemic barriers when it comes to accessing loans from financial institutions. That's what the second part of our program, the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund, will tackle. With this new fund, Black businesses will be eligible for loans of up to $250,000. And that brings me to the third part of this program, the creation of a new Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub. To build back better, we need the best data possible to ensure future funding is more efficient. This hub will identify the barriers standing in the way of Black entrepreneurs and highlight opportunities for future growth. To get the right input from communities, the hub will be run by Black-led business organizations in partnership with universities and colleges. Moving forward, Statistics Canada will continue to collect disaggregated data to better understand the needs of Black entrepreneurs. Aujourd'hui, j'annonce que le gouvernement...
Today I'm announcing that the Government of Canada, in partnership with a number of Canadian banks, will be investing up to $221 million to launch the very first Black Entrepreneurship Community Program. Canada's contribution to the program will be up to $93 million over 4 years. The program will fund 3 new initiatives: a fund for a national ecosystem fund, a Black community entrepreneurship loan fund, and a knowledge hub for Black communities. First of all, the ecosystem fund. What's that about? The program will help millions of Black business owners during the economic upturn to come. I'd like to thank partners for working with us to deal with the problems that Black entrepreneurs have been facing for much too long. It will fund 3 new initiatives: the National Ecosystem Fund, the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund, and the Black Community Knowledge Hub. The National Ecosystem Fund. Black business owners all too often have difficulty in obtaining the mentorship and tools they need to succeed. Through the fund, they will have access to financial planning services and business training that will help them be in a better position as the economy recovers. They also face systemic obstacles in obtaining loans from financial institutions. That is why we're setting up the second component of our program, the Black Entrepreneurship Community Loan Fund. With a new fund, Black-owned businesses will be able to obtain loans of up to $250,000. That brings me to the third component of the program, the new Black Business Community Knowledge Hub. If we are to rebuild better, we need to have the best possible data to make sure that future funding is more efficient. The Knowledge Fund will determine and establish the barriers that are hindering future growth for Black entrepreneurs. And with good information from communities, the hub will be led and managed by Black community organizations in partnerships with community partners. This will help us better understand the difficulties and needs of Black entrepreneurs. The purpose of this announcement is that we wish to create long-term investments in our communities so that people can achieve their full potential.
It wouldn't be possible without the leadership of Black business organizations. I'd like to thank them again for their hard work on building this new program with us. This funding is another step in supporting the hopes and aspirations of Black Canadians. And it's another step towards our commitment to address the systemic racism that affects Black communities. We know there's still more work to be done, and we're committed to doing that work. In the weeks and months to come, our government will continue to stand with all Canadians through this economic recovery. We will continue to build a better, more equitable, more inclusive Canada where everyone has a real and fair chance at success. Notre gouvernement comprend que notre population...
Our government understands that Canadians, all Canadians, are our biggest asset. I would now like to give the floor to Greg Fergus, leader of our Black Parliamentary Caucus.
Caucus, Greg Fergus, and then I'll be happy to take your questions. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Premier ministre.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. And thank you to my dear colleague, Mary Lang, Minister for Small Business and International Trade, as well as our host today, Mr. Ahmed Ismail, who has welcomed us here today so that we could see the very best of Black entrepreneurship in Toronto, if not in Canada. Today is a historic day.
Historic day. You know, it was 186 years ago in 1834 that there was the abolition of slavery in this country. And in many respects, people thought that that was a positive development. In many respects, it is. But in a sense, it was phrased in the negative, abolition of slavery. But that was no guarantee for freedom. That was no guarantee for opportunities. That was no guarantee for prosperity. And as we saw over the last 186 years, there have been many obstacles, dare I say it, systemic discrimination, anti-Black racism that had existed here, where Blacks weren't able to get deeds of the properties that they lived on or the houses they owned. They weren't able to get loans so that they could pass on some prosperity to their children, that they could use that capital in order to create businesses not only for their community, but for all Canadians, to create that prosperity. Well, I think today we can say that we've moved into a positive era. The announcement today by the Prime Minister and by the Minister is a very positive development. It will not, in one fell swoop, eliminate all of systemic discrimination and consequences, but we've taken a positive step forward. It is a way for Black Canadians to tell a different story to non-Black Canadians about what we want to do and the prosperity that we want to create, the opportunities that are before us. And now we have the means to do this. It's also an opportunity for the Black community to tell ourselves a different story, that we are economic actors, that we are leaders in our community, and that we are full Canadians and wanting to participate to this wonderful country that we call home. I would like to thank some people who are here in this room. First of all, I'd like to thank my colleagues, Gary Anandasangari, who is here, Adam Vaughan, and a special shout out to a colleague who is not here, Minister Ahmed Hussein. These three have been, along with many others, past and present members of Parliament, have been just stalwart members of the Parliamentary Black Caucus, and who have put their responsibilities aside, the many responsibilities aside, to ensure that we could pursue and represent the needs of the black communities from all across this country. Another group of people who I'd really like to thank are the business people, especially the black business people who are here in the room, who have made an amazing through their businesses to contribute to this new entrepreneurial fund. This is remarkable to see how everybody is working in partnership to ensuring that black Canadians can take their place. So thank you for all that work. The work is not done. We still have more work to do on the justice issue, public security, making sure that there's representation in our private and public sectors, to making sure that there's work to do in culture. But what we started today, and Prime Minister, what you have worked on all summer long, in cooperation with Minister Eng, she and her staff have done an incredible job, is the beginning of this process to making sure that all Canadians are equal Canadians. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Greg. We'll start with reporters in the room. One question, one follow-up, then go to the phone afterwards.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Simon Dingley from CBC. I'll get to the announcement today in just a moment, sir, but some whistleblowers are now reconsidering being part of the external review into Rideau Hall because you described the job the Governor-General is doing as excellent. Why would you say she's doing an excellent job before the review is actually done?
The Governor-General has a long and successful role as a scientist, as an astronaut. We have engaged a third-party reviewer to follow up on these serious allegations, and we will wait for the reviewer to do their work.
Puis-je avoir la même réponse en français pour Radio-Canada aussi?
Could you please repeat that answer? The Governor-General has a long career as a scientist and astronaut. We have engaged an independent company to conduct an investigation into these serious allegations, and we will wait for them to complete their work.
It's been more than 3 months since you took a knee at the anti-black racism protest on Parliament Hill. Today's announcement seems to be the only action the government's taken so far to help the black community since then. Where is your government's anti-racism strategy that you've been promising?
Over the past many years, our government has been working with the black community on issues of importance to them, whether it's social justice, whether it's the justice system, whether it's public safety, but it's also been issues around economic development. One of the things that we've heard time and time again is about the barriers to economic success the members of the black community facing. Young entrepreneurs who get extra barriers when it's already challenging enough to be an entrepreneur. We needed to turn things around, and over the course of numerous roundtables with business leaders over the past years, we've made commitments, and today we're announcing a significant element of economic empowerment and investment for black communities. I recognize there's much more to do on the justice system, much more to do on public safety and working with police, and we will have more things to talk about. We've heard very clearly from the black community that economic empowerment is an essential step towards breaking down those barriers and creating true success, not just for the black community, but for our country. And that's why I'm so excited to have made that announcement today.
La même question en français, s'il vous plaît.
Could you please answer in French? For many years now, I have been working with the black community, listening to their concerns. They need investment in entrepreneurship, but also in social justice, best solutions for the black community to reduce barriers and improve inclusion. There is more to do on the justice side. There is more to do on working with police forces to fight systemic racism. But today, what we are announcing are tangible measures that will make it possible for Black entrepreneurs to succeed, that will help Black communities and help Canada as a whole to succeed better, to innovate more effectively, and to have more economic prosperity for everyone. These tangible investments in the Black community and in their business leadership are good, not only for the community, but for all of Canada.
Hello, Prime Minister. My name is Salman Faruqi. I'm from the Canadian Press. Racialized people have been disproportionately affected by COVID-19, both in health and finances. Do you have plans for broader help targeted at their economic recovery, or are you confident that the programs in place now will serve their needs?
We moved very quickly as a government to respond during this COVID-19 crisis and put money in the pockets of all Canadians who needed them almost immediately. The Canada Emergency Response Benefit made a huge difference in the lives of millions upon millions of Canadians. On top of that, we rolled out a wage subsidy to help small businesses, and we've continued to create other programs to help young people, to help seniors, to help people with disabilities, a range of things we will continue to do. It is a fact that racialized communities have been much more vulnerable to COVID-19. And that is something that we are continuing to work with communities across the country on responding. We will be there to support any and all Canadians who are facing difficulty because of COVID-19. I know there are a number of Black businesses in Eglinton West and other areas that have been solidly affected by COVID and by construction projects. And the money that we're putting forward today to support Black businesses across this country will be there to help communities that are facing difficulties.
And second question, you've been open about how you're winding down emergency pandemic supports in favor of longer-term programs, but BC just ordered some businesses to close again. How can you encourage a recovery and a return to more normal economic activity when some people are clearly still living in an emergency?
We are all still living in an emergency. COVID-19 is here and is going to keep being here in our communities until such a time as we have a vaccine or else much better treatment than we have now. Yes, we're talking about an economic recovery, and we're putting in the building blocks of it because Canada has managed to control the spread of COVID-19. But as we're seeing with cases rising across the country, we are not out of the woods. Canadians need to continue to be vigilant. Canadians need to continue to be careful, to wear a mask, to wash their hands, to keep social distancing, to avoid large gatherings. These are the things we need to do to keep COVID-19 under control while we get our economies going again. The last thing that anyone wants is to have to once again shut down our economies and suspend our lives to try and counter a massive second wave. That's why each and every one of us, in the choices we make, need to keep each other safe, keep ourselves safe, keep our frontline health workers from being overwhelmed, keep our elders from being victims of COVID-19. Yes, we move forward quickly with the Canada Emergency Response Benefit that help Canadians not only be able to pay for their groceries right away when the economy shut down, but to encourage people to stay home, because that's what we needed to control COVID-19. Now, as we are living with COVID-19, there's a lot of economic activity picking up again, and that's a good thing. But obviously it needs to be done carefully. And that's why shifting from the CERB, which was designed to keep people at home and not working, towards a more EI-like system that will have incentives to work and encouragements and supports for people while the economy gets rolling again, is the right step. But we are going to remain vigilant every step of the way. And as I've said from the beginning, this government will continue to have Canadians' back throughout this crisis.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
We were there for Canadians from the very start with the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, the CERB. It was there to help people pay for their groceries, pay their rent, while encouraging them to stay home so that we could control the epidemic. The CRB was designed to keep people at home. But now that we are carefully restarting and reopening the economy, we are transforming the CERB into a form of assistance that is more EI-like in nature, with encouragements for training, incentives to return to work. But let's get, or keep, I should say, one thing straight. We're not out of the woods. The disease isn't gone. We are living with COVID-19, and we're going to continue living with COVID-19 for months, if not years, until we have a vaccine, until we have effective treatment. So, until that time comes, we need to remain vigilant. We need to continue being careful, wear masks, maintain distancing, wash our hands often, and stay home as soon as there are any cold-like symptoms. Be tested. No one wants to go back to lockdown. So we have to carefully manage every stage that we're going through at the moment. But as I've said from the very start, and at every stage, this government will be there to support Canadians. Thank you. Questions on the telephone?
Michel Lamarche, TVA. À vous.
Ms. Lamarche, are you on mute?
C'est moi? Oh, je suis désolée.
Sorry, I couldn't hear anything, but I think I can hear you. You can hear me, rather. My first question is for you. You said in the spring that you would be looking at health transfer amounts. Are you now ready to make a firm commitment to the provinces, for example, on the percentage, a specific percentage increase for federal health transfers? As I said from the start, as a government, we will be there to help people and help provinces. We have been able to invest $500 million. We did that at the beginning of the crisis to help provinces and their healthcare systems. We recently concluded agreements amounting to $19 billion to help provinces and support their healthcare systems. We will continue to be there for them. I am going to begin discussions with premiers of provinces and territories to talk about the next steps and see how we can continue to help. But as I said, we will be there to protect the health and safety of Canadians.
Follow-up. Yeah. Discussions will have to be held. And I heard that you would be ready to start and launch elections in the fall. Can you tell us that you are dismissing and ruling out this scenario? Answer: I do not want an election. We need to continue working together with all parties, with all levels of government, in the interests of Canadians. However, this is a minority parliament. It's not for me to decide whether election will be triggered, and opposition parties will decide if they trust our plan for the recovery of the economy, and this is why we'll be introducing a speech from the throne, which will explain how we intend to restart our economy, and how we will want to rebuild the country in even stronger than it was before that. And also, we will behave in a responsible way And in a democracy, opposition parties will decide if they will trust the government to deliver this restart and recovery to Canadians. It's not for us to decide. We do not want an election.
I have been very clear. The government has no interest in seeing an election this fall. We know that there's still an awful lot of hardship that Canadians are going through. There's still real concerns about a potential second wave of COVID-19, and we need to be vigilant. We need to be there to help Canadians. We need to be there to relaunch our economy. So we have no interest in an election. However, we will be putting forward a strong and ambitious plan to both help Canadians right now and begin the process of building back better our country, our economy. And it is the responsible thing to do in a democracy, particularly in a minority parliament situation, to put that plan forward to ensure that it has the confidence of the House as we move forward. So it will be up to opposition parties to decide whether or not they have confidence in the plan this government's going to put forward to help Canadians and to build a better future. We're going to stay focused on helping Canadians, and I hope that the other parties will do the same.
Thank you. Operator, next question.
Thank you. Merci. Next question, Ryan Tumulty, National Post. Line open.
Yeah, good morning, sir. I'm wondering, in your throne speech that's coming up, I know you suggested that you'll be presenting an ambitious plan for Canada, and given the country's current debt and deficit situation, will that plan include some sort of new financial anchor, some sort of grounding for the government's finances?
I know people are eager to see what's going to be in the throne speech, and I've been very clear that it is going to be an ambitious and responsible plan for helping Canadians right now and building a stronger future for us all into the coming years. The values and principles that underpin it should be obvious to everyone, because they are the things that this government has remained focused on from the beginning. Making sure that all Canadians have a real and fair chance to succeed. Recognizing the inequities that COVID-19 have highlighted. Knowing that the future of jobs and opportunities for Canadians involves making sure we're reducing our carbon emissions. These are the kinds of things that we want to work in partnership right across the country with to make sure that we're building a better future. And I look forward for the opportunity in a couple of weeks to share that vision with Canadians and see parliamentarians pronounce on it.
Following up, Ryan.
Yes, sir. I guess I'm just wondering, though, if it will have any sort of tethering. Are you concerned about what that will do to Canada's debt if bond rating agencies start to view our debt as unmanageable? And also, sir, I'm wondering, do you plan to meet with opposition leaders before presenting this throne speech to get their input?
Every step of the way, we have consulted with opposition leaders. We've worked with them. We've worked with members of all parties who've come forward to highlight gaps and issues and concerns that they have about Canadians who need help because of this pandemic. We will continue our engaged approach and make sure that we're listening carefully to proposals put forward by the other parties. We know that it is better when we all work together. And quite frankly, what we've seen over the past number of months with historic numbers of meetings between the First Ministers, deals signed with the provinces and territories for billions of dollars of investments to help Canadians through COVID. Canadians appreciate that here in Canada, different parties and different levels of government are all working together to serve them, and we're going to continue to do that. But our principle from the very, very beginning has been we will be there to help Canadians. And there are people out there who said we shouldn't have helped people first, we shouldn't have been sending money to Canadians right away. Well, I think they're wrong. I think if we hadn't made sure that Canadians had money in their pockets as we shut down the economy, not only would people have had to borrow money as a household on their credit cards, through the banks, In order to make it through, we would have seen record numbers, even higher record numbers at food banks. We would have seen families evicted. We needed to be there to help Canadians first, and that's exactly what we did. And every step of the way, we will continue to be there for Canadians because we know that Canadians are more than able to get us through this and out to the other side even stronger than ever before. And this government will always be a partner to them every step of the way.
Merci. Opérateur, prochaine question au téléphone.
Thank you.
Next
Merci.
question.
Next question, Alex Balangal, the Toronto Star. Line open.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for taking my question. With this new program you're announcing today, what happens to it after 4 years? And is $93 million from the government over 4 years really enough to answer, as Mr. Fergus highlights, at least 186 years of discrimination and injustice for Black-owned businesses and entrepreneurs?
Thank you for asking a question about this announcement. The reality is there's always going to be more to do. One of the things we've heard, however, clearly from the Black community and Black business leaders is there is a fundamental challenge around access to capital. The ideas, the ability to succeed are all there within the Black community, but the barriers with financial institutions, the barriers to accessing loans to invest in their communities, in their businesses, are simply not there. What this program will do over the coming 4 years is ensure that by working with financial institutions, there is much greater access to capital for these Black businesses which face systemic barriers and discrimination every single day. It would be lovely to imagine that with 4 years of working with almost all financial institutions on delivering capital, it will become very obvious to those institutions what we and so many of us in this room already know, that investing in Black businesses is an amazing way to create wealth and prosperity for everyone. And in 4 years, we will look at this, and perhaps there will be different challenges we have to invest in because the challenges of access will have been so significantly improved. What we get to demonstrate with this program is that investing in Black businesses isn't just good for financial institutions or for Black businesses themselves, that it'll be incredibly good for our communities and for our entire country. And that's what I'm so excited about here.
Following up, Alex?
Yes, just I think it was mid-June, Mr. Fergus and the Parliamentary Black Caucus released that declaration of recommendations for the government to tackle systemic racism that was signed by, I think it was more than half of your cabinet, more than 100 Liberal MPs. I'm wondering if how you're using that declaration as a guiding document for whatever work is coming. As you say, you're promising more action on this. How much of a role is that declaration playing in what the government is working on?
I think that declaration was extraordinarily important, and I'm deeply grateful to Greg for his leadership and for so many parliamentarians and ministers for signing on to that. But we're listening to that document. We're also engaging directly with the Black community and hearing the challenges, the issues, the impediments, the barriers that we need to tackle. We've worked with all sorts of different partners throughout the summer. We've brought forward different elements. I'm happy to be making an announcement today about significant investments that's going to encourage Black entrepreneurship and help Black businesses succeed. But there are many other elements, whether it's our justice system, whether it's around public security, whether it's around community supports, that we're going to continue to work on. And every step of the way, we will do it in partnership with those most affected, the Black community itself and Indigenous Canadians as well.
Thank you, operator. One last reporter on the phone.
Thank you. Merci. Dernière question, Hélène Buzetti.
Hélène Buzetti, Le Devoir. Good afternoon, Mr. Trudeau. Recently, John Iveson, in one of his articles, mentioned a number of high officials, civil servants, who are concerned by your generosity, and he is worried, and they are alleged to be worried by the deficit of $200 billion. What do you say to this? I'm not going to comment upon such reports. I just want to emphasize a promise that I made. We promised Canadians that we would be providing them with all the necessary support that they might need in order to restart our economy and resume our growth, and also countering the dire consequences of COVID-19. So we will continue doing it with all our governmental departments in order to develop and implement a responsible plan in order to contain COVID-19, in order to have a roadmap for the future and build a stronger economy, stronger than it has ever been. And we will be attempting to do it with the support of all members of Parliament. Follow-up. So we might have a deficit of $343 billion deficit this year. So do you think we should put a ceiling to such a deepening deficit? Answer, at each step we will do what is necessary for Canadians, and the crisis that we are experiencing has hit very, very hardly all business people and all families, and the Canadian government has guaranteed all Canadians and all businesses that we would be guaranteeing the safety from the health viewpoint of the population, and also the health of our companies and businesses, because we need them to rebuild our economy. This is the best way for us to have a long-term affluence and prosperity for our country. Yes, this ends the press conference for today. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Les habla Óscar Avendaño de Exploring Solutions Canada. Quiero compartir con ustedes que hemos incluido un nuevo servicio para ti: financiamiento de vehículos nuevos y usados. Sí, escuchaste bien. Enfocados en ti, nuevos inmigrantes, estudiantes internacionales o cualquier residente ya establecido con o sin crédito. Toda situación migratoria será atendido. Por favor, llámanos al 905-920-2143 y comienza a conducir tu carro ahora.